Passover. Go ahead and read.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread.
And then you had the feast of unleavened bread. I just put unleavened. Now, then what followed the Passover was the feast of unleavened bread, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go to, I'm going to show you how they came up with that Good Friday thing. I know how they came up with it. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Matthew 26, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Matthew 26 and verse 1. 26 and verse 1. You know, I dealt with a little of this stuff, this Good Friday Easter thing, in a TV lesson that I had last week. And I figured I was going to hit them with it twice. And I called them to ask them to replay, and they played the wrong lesson. I said, that's all right. Y'all ain't going to get around. You're going to get it next week now. Because it was supposed to play today.
All right, brother.
You understand what I'm saying? Actually, initially I said I was going to just play it the day after Good Friday and day before Easter. But I said, no, I want to hit them with a double dose, so I give it to them last week and turn around and give it to them again this week. But they said, no, you ain't. We going to make a mistake and play the wrong tape.
Yes, sir.
I said, so I'll get you next week then.
All right then, brother.
You know, I wanted to get them before they ate it, but now that they done ate it, I'm going to choke it out of them. Let's start reading at, let's start reading here at Matthew chapter 26, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Matthew 26, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, you know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
In other words, Jesus is going to die on the Passover day, which is the day before the day of unleavened bread, which is a high Sabbath day. And I'm going to put it right over here. Because it is because God got the weekly Sabbath day, and then he have the annual Sabbath days, or as they are called, high Sabbath days. So now Jesus died on the Passover, the day before the day of unleavened bread, which is a high Sabbath day. Now, let's go to John chapter 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 30. John 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 30. 19 and 30. This is how they came up with the Good Friday. When they read this, they assumed that it was talking about the weekly Sabbath day, and they said, well, if Jesus died on the day before the Sabbath day, and we know the Sabbath day is Saturday, that means that he died on Friday. But then they forgot about the 3 days and the 3 nights.
Yes, sir.
If they had been thinking, then they said, well, no, that can't work. Because if I do Friday, then I can't get 3 days and 3 nights. What they did not understand is the Bible is dealing with 2 Sabbath days. You know, Jesus died on the day before the high Sabbath day, and he rose at the end of the weekly Sabbath day. Because if you are dealing with only one Sabbath day, the weekly Sabbath day, how can he die on the day before the weekly Sabbath day and be in the grave 3 days and 3 nights and still come out the day at the end of the Sabbath day? How can that be? That can't be, can it?
That's right, brother.
So now, you are dealing with 2 Sabbath days, the weekly Sabbath day and the high Sabbath day. Start reading at John 19 and pick it up at verse 30. Go ahead and read.
When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost.
Now, what day was that on? That was on the Passover, wasn't it? Because he just said, the Son of Man going to be betrayed to be crucified on the Passover, right? Go ahead and read. What follows the Passover? The first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Go ahead and read.
The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation, that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day.
Go ahead.
For that Sabbath day was an high day.
See what it said? For that Sabbath day was a high day. So now he died on the day before the high Sabbath day. He was which fell that year on a Wednesday. The Passover did, rather, fell on a Wednesday. He was in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, and he rose at the end of the weekly Sabbath day. But they thought because it said he died the day before the Sabbath day, they thought it was talking about the weekly Sabbath day, and they understood that the weekly Sabbath day is Saturday, so we know the day before Saturday is Friday, right? So that means he died on Good Friday. But then you can't get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday morning.
That's right, brother.
Duh. So that, you know, but that's how they came up with the Good Friday thing. Now, let's go and read something else from history here. Let's go and read something from the last 2 million years. This time, we are going to read from page 216. Find that for me, bro. There you go, right there. You got it. Start reading. And read the subtitle here, too.
All right, brother.
Go ahead.
Pagan rites absorbed.
What kind of rites? Pagan rites absorbed. You know, paganism came to mean anything other than Christianity. That was not the original meaning of it, but it came to mean anything other than Christianity. Now, it said pagan rites absorbed. We already read earlier that, you know, you came up with your Christmas, that was pagan. We already read that earlier. Now it's going to tell you about the big one tomorrow. The one that everybody is going to show up at somebody's church.
That's right, brother.
You know, you don't go to church but once. You know, I ain't real religious, but I'm going to church tomorrow. And you know that, right? Everybody, even old man, he go, you know, old man, he don't mess with them church thing too much. But he gonna show up tomorrow. He gonna have on this suit and everything. He gonna be looking good.
Brother. Yes, sir.
Little sister looking good with her little new outfit on, little Easter bonnet. Little Junior, he got on his little sharp suit and everything. And Mama, she dressed to kill.
Yes, sir.
Cause she just laid to the bone. She gotta look real good.
Yes,
Cause
sir.
everybody gotta show up tomorrow.
Right,
you understand
brother.
what
That's
I'm saying?
Looking good.
We gotta go and commemorate the resurrection of Jesus. But guess what? That ain't what you doing tomorrow. I'm going to show you who you are worshiping tomorrow. Go ahead and read.
Pagan rites absorbed.
Pagan rites absorbed, it said. Go ahead and read.
By a stroke of tactical genius, the church, while intolerant of pagan beliefs,
Please say, in a stroke of tactical genius, the church,
while intolerant
to
of
what
pagan beliefs,
it said. Go ahead and read.
was able to harness the powerful emotions generated by pagan worship. Often churches were sited where temples had stood before, and many heathen festivals were added to the Christian calendar.
Now he said many heathen pagan festivals was added unto the Christian calendar. You know, if you want to know what the real Christian calendar is, read Leviticus 23rd chapter.
That's right, brother.
That is the Christian calendar, because that is what the Christians of the Bible observe. You know, you go and you read the Bible. We read earlier that the early Christians, they observed the 7th day as the Sabbath day, right? And then you can go and read where the early Christians, they kept the Passover. They kept the unleavened bread. They kept the Pentecost.
That's right, brother.
These are the days you want to know the real Christian calendar. That is the Christian calendar. So, but now, what they did was, they just totally left them out altogether. And they just started them a calendar. And then it said many pagan festivals was added. Go ahead and read.
Easter, for instance.
Easter, for instance. I can put it up here on the paganism now.
That's right, brother.
Let me put it up here too. Easter. Go ahead and read, bro.
A time of sacrifice and rebirth in the Christian year.
It said a time and sacrifice and rebirth in the Christian year. Go ahead and read.
Takes its name from the Norse goddess Estra.
Spell that, brother. I got to put this one up here, because I want everybody to know what God they are worshiping. Spell it for me.
E-O-S.
E-O-S. Go ahead.
T-R-E.
T-R-E. Go ahead. That's the God. That is the goddess that you are worshiping tomorrow, when you show up looking good. Go ahead and read.
In whose honor rites were held every spring.
Every spring they held honor. Her rites was held every spring. Go ahead and read.
She in turn was simply a northern version of the Phoenician earth mother Astarte.
Astarte. I might well put that up here. Which one you want? You want to deal with the Greek one? Which one? You choose. Spell that for me. Go ahead and read.
A-S-T.
A-S-T, go ahead.
A-R-T-E.
A-R-T-E. So now, which one you want?